Good afternoon and happy Halloween. I'm not celebrating Samhain tonight. It'll be next week. I do the astrological 15 degrees bit, so uh, tonight's just Halloween for me. And a friend of mine has invited some people over for Halloween dinner. So it's not, a mute supper or anything, but I'm making my uh, they're making pork something, but I don't eat meat. But this dish is baked apples and onions, and that's traditionally served with pork. So I'm making this, but I make this dish for meat suppers for the last, I'd say, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, and I don't know. It's really delicious. There's thyme and apples and onions, of course, pomegranate seeds. Um, it's a little unusual compared to some of the recipes out there, in large part because of the pomegranate and the fact that it's cooked with orange juice. So, anyway, I'll show you how to make this if you ever feel like enjoying something really savory but kind of sweet as well. And yeah, okay. So let me cut to the next part. Okay, let's talk ingredients. I really, really love onions. They are antibacterial, antiviral, antiseptic. They they help contend with allergies and asthma that's induced by allergens, essentially, by uh, reducing the body's release of histamine. And I used to suffer really bad allergies, so I grew very fond of onions, and they're delicious both raw and fried. So it's they're kind of like a miracle food. There's an urban legend, I guess, where it's said that if you leave an unpeeled onion in a room or like at your desk in the office or whatever, it'll actually absorb the flu and cold viruses from the air, so you don't catch it. So I don't know if that's true, but I do know if you eat them, you're definitely promoting your own health. During centuries in Europe, if um, the Jewish population living essentially in the ghettos in the different cities, they were kind of renowned for smelling like onions and garlic, because they would eat onions like whole apples, like we do with apples, and they were forced to live in extremely close proximation to one another. And while the rest of the city would be riddled with plague, the Jewish quarters were frequently the most healthy. And this is largely due to the fact that they ate onions in large quantities. And this makes sense because while apples are definitely healthy, if your people are frequently excised from a city because of reasons X, Y, and Z, and forced to migrate elsewhere, you probably don't have the motivation to plant trees and hope that you get a crop of apples before you are forced to leave again, versus onions, which you can get within the season. So onions were known as Jewish apples. So you're going to need onions. I prefer yellow onions. As I understand it, they have the best properties of, and I can't remember what they're called, but the best properties between, within the cell walls and outside the cell walls, so whatever. You're going to need enough onions to enough onion and apple to fill whatever baking container you plan to use. So onions, I prefer green apples for baking. Definitely go with organic if you can find them, preferably from the farmer's market. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Apples are also fantastic health foods. They're probably best known for handling fat content in your bloodstream, as well as moderating sugar levels in your blood. So they really become the perfect food for this time of year, with the holidays, because you have candy from Halloween, all sorts of baked goods coming with Thanksgiving and Christmas. So eating an apple or two a day will help buoy your immune system to the ravishes of good eating for the holidays. So definitely recommend that. You'll need some brown sugar. I prefer dark. I don't really think there's much of a difference between the two. For my baked onion apple thing, I'm going to be adding pomegranate seeds, which I usually do for Samhain versus if I'm doing it for Yule. It makes it definitely a little sweeter, and it adds another layer of flavor, but the pomegranate seeds are mostly in there for a symbolic reason, although they are high in antioxidants, so they're still good stuff. You'll want about an orange worth of orange juice. So, I guess you could just pour it out of a bottle, but I don't drink orange juice, so but I love oranges, so I'll be squeezing that out. Spices: ginger, cinnamon, clove, and nutmeg. Sorry. So I'm using a pumpkin pie spice medley, which has all four of those in there, which is just convenient. There's also thyme. I'm sorry, the picture is so lousy on this side. And I'll also be using black salt, not magical black salt, because that would not be appropriate for food. This is black salt from India. And so basically it's a really lousy picture, but the black salt is purpley in color, like a light lavender color, and let me see if I can't open this. Sorry, I'm doing this with one hand. I'm ready if we're going to see anything. Slide over to better lighting. That doesn't tell you much. It is a slight, light pink, light purple color, and I like it because it's got a little tangy flavor to it. So I think that'll be a nice contrast to the pomegranate seeds and the orange juice. And then finally, for your baking lubricant, I guess, I'm using coconut oil. Butter will work just fine. I try to make things vegan friendly if I can. I'm not vegan, but and coconut oil has some health properties. I can't remember what they all are, so Google it, because we have them. So yeah, and let's see, as far as onions and apples go, especially in relation to Samhain, I like the contrast of these two in a dish, because onions are the apple of life, and then the apples are more the apple for our ancestors. So it's that contrast between life and death, which is really great for a mute supper. And if you cut a apple lengthwise, you'll see the star, and I look at onions as being the moon. So it's a star on the moon, which is why I like to add the orange, because that provides the solar energy for the dish as well. Okay, so I'm going to get that all prepped, and as far as quantities go, I don't use a measuring spoon, and so it won't be the entire bag of sugar, and it probably won't be all of these. It will be about an orange worth of orange juice, but that has a lot to do with how much juice it produces, and how big your cookware is and whatnot. So basically, you're just going to have to play around with it. I do sprinkles and dashes and lace things and powder them and whatever. I don't do a quarter teaspoon and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're gonna have to kind of visualize how you would think it's gonna taste then, because I don't follow recipes that way, and I don't write them down myself that way. So I will show you what it looks like when it's ready to go into the oven. Okay, so this is the dish just ready to go into the oven. As you can see, the apples have been cut into chunks. The onion was cut into 6, but when I tossed everything, they lost their solidarity and kind of just mingled. The pomegranate seeds are sprinkled all over the top. I think I got distracted when I was talking about the Indian salt. The herb that was next to it is thyme, so that's the green leafy thing you can see on top. And really, thyme is especially great this time of year. It's also antimicrobial, handles infections really well, and breaks up congestion. So it's super awesome for cold and flu season. And basically all the health properties you can think of connected to sage, thyme covers, and better, if I recall correctly. So yes, that's going to go into the oven at 425 degrees for, because of the thickness of this cooking pot, probably about 40 minutes, but it's going to vary wildly depending on what you're cooking it in and how much you're making and whatnot. So wait until things brown and look caramelized. So yeah, I'm as bad with cooking times as I am with ingredient quantities. So, but at least now you have kind of an idea of what it looks like in its 2 different steps. So you'll if you feel like you can kind of replicate it. Anyway, so again, everybody enjoy your Halloween, and if it's Samhain for you tonight, enjoy that, and I will cover something else the next time I see you guys. Alright, enjoy.